Imagine boarding the largest ship ever built. A floating palace with grand staircases, luxury dining halls, swimming pools, and electric lights. People called it the safest ship ever created. Some even believed God himself could not sink it. But just 4 days into its first voyage, something appeared in the dark waters ahead: an iceberg. In less than 3 hours, the greatest ship in the world would vanish beneath the ocean, and more than 1,500 people would die in the freezing Atlantic. This is the story of the Titanic, the ship that was never supposed to sink. At the beginning of the 20th century, countries competed to build the largest and fastest ocean liners in the world. The British shipping company White Star Line wanted to dominate the Atlantic, so they decided to build 3 enormous ships: Olympic, Britannic, and the most famous of them all, Titanic. When construction began in 1909 in Belfast, the Titanic became the largest moving object ever built by humans. The ship was 269 meters long, 28 meters wide, and weighed over 46,000 tons. Inside, Titanic looked more like a luxury hotel than a ship. First-class passengers enjoyed grand staircases, elegant dining rooms, a swimming pool, a gymnasium, Turkish baths, libraries, and lounges. It was the height of luxury and technology. But there was one claim that made the ship legendary. Titanic was believed to be unsinkable. The Titanic used a revolutionary design. Inside the ship were 16 watertight compartments. If water entered one section, heavy steel doors would close automatically, preventing flooding from spreading. Engineers believed the ship could stay afloat even if 4 compartments filled with water. Because of this design, newspapers and shipbuilders confidently described Titanic as practically unsinkable. But there was a flaw. If more than 4 compartments flooded, the ship could no longer stay balanced, and that design weakness would soon become fatal. On April 10, 1912, Titanic departed from Southampton, England. On board were more than 2,200 people. The passengers represented every level of society. The richest people in the world traveled in first class, millionaires like John Jacob Astor and Benjamin Guggenheim. Their rooms looked like luxury hotel suites.
Indeed, my dear. This is paradise, isn't it?
But in the lower decks were third-class passengers. Many were immigrants traveling to America in search of a better life. Families packed their belongings and dreamed of new beginnings. For them, Titanic represented hope. No one imagined the ship would become their grave. As Titanic crossed the Atlantic, wireless operators began receiving ice warnings from nearby ships. Messages warned that large icebergs were drifting into the ship's path. But the Titanic continued traveling at nearly full speed, around 22 knots. Why? Because Captain Edward Smith wanted to maintain schedule, and many believed the ship was strong enough to handle any danger. On the night of April 14, 1912, the ocean was unusually calm. There were no waves breaking against the icebergs, making them harder to spot. The sea was dark, the air was freezing, and the Titanic was moving fast through an ice field. Then, suddenly, someone in the crow's nest shouted the words that would change history forever. "Iceberg, right ahead!" The crew immediately tried to turn the ship, but Titanic was enormous, and it was too late. At 11:40 p.m., the iceberg scraped along the side of the ship. The impact seemed small. Many passengers didn't even notice. But beneath the waterline, the iceberg had ripped open the hull. Water began pouring into 6 compartments, one more than the ship could survive. The Titanic was doomed. Ship designer Thomas Andrews inspected the damage. After examining the flooding, he delivered the terrible news. The Titanic would sink, and it would happen in about 2 hours. The crew began preparing the lifeboats, but there was another problem. The ship carried lifeboats for only about half the people on board. Many passengers still believed the ship was safe. Some even refused to enter the lifeboats. They thought it was safer to remain on the massive ship. They were tragically wrong. As the bow sank deeper into the water, panic spread across the decks. Lifeboats were lowered one by one into the freezing Atlantic. The band famously continued playing music to calm passengers. Families were separated. Husbands said goodbye to wives. Parents kissed their children. By 2:20 a.m., the Titanic finally broke apart. The enormous ship disappeared beneath the ocean. More than 1,500 people were left in the freezing water. Most died within minutes from hypothermia. It became one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. The Titanic tragedy shocked the world. New safety rules were introduced for ships, more lifeboats, continuous radio monitoring, and international ice patrols. More than 70 years later, in 1985, the wreck of Titanic was finally discovered at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, nearly 4,000 meters below the surface. Even today, the story of Titanic continues to fascinate the world because it reminds us of something powerful. No matter how advanced technology becomes, nature is always stronger. The Titanic was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of human ambition, pride, and tragedy. A reminder that even the greatest creations can fall. And more than a century later, the legend of Titanic still lives on. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.